Right, hi there. I'm Looney Shoggoth, and I want to bring to you today something a little bit different. A campaign diary. This will be my first campaign diary for the current game I'm playing with a bunch of my colleagues from work. It's a Star Wars game, so if you've heard of The Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, Force and Destiny, it's played using those systems. I want to start with a shout out to Matt Coville for giving me this idea. So if you haven't heard of Matt Coville, he does D&D, so I'll put a link below for you to find him. Alright, let's start. Players. We got a couple of players. I'm going to touch on a couple of them. Firstly, I'm playing in it. I'm not the GM. I'm not running the game. I'm playing Dante, a former Imperial droid, who's now seeking his personal freedom out from the Imperial boot. C1, he's a Cerulean Jedi, really a young kid, but Ceruleans have these two brains stacked on top of each other, and they're kind of cool. And he was taken from his home to train to be a Jedi by an automated droid ship. But when he arrived at the Jedi Temple, it was already destroyed. B, who's a kind of nifty ne'er-do-well. She's a spy fighting possibly for the rebellion. We don't really know her affiliation at the moment. Sal, he's a Nautilin or Nautilus kind of Jedi. So they're kind of like dudes with these big kind of head tentacles, and they're kind of cool. I mean, his deal is just kind of fighting against the injustices in the world. Then we got Null, I think kind of human, ne'er-do-well, possibly a smuggler. We don't know too much. And at this point, none of our characters have really met each other, so hopefully you'll kind of get a feel for who's who as we go along. I don't really know. All right. The time, I think this is set somewhere between episode 3 and episode 4, so in the same kind of period where Rogue One takes place. The Empire is strong, it's spread its dominion over quite a lot, and the Rebellion is just this kind of fledgling idea that's really starting to take true form. You know, people are starting to kind of froth at the mouth over the injustices caused by the Empire. They're starting to kind of come together in this rebellion, and it's really is starting, but it's struggling. And during this time of strife, criminals are really taking full advantage of the chaos. There are criminal cartels running around. You've got the Hutts, you've got the Red Suns, etc., etc. Where's this game starting? Starting on the planet Dantooine. It's an outer rim planet, kind of a lush, verdant green place. Pretty nifty and nice. But most importantly for the story, there have been rumors of a rebel base on this planet. And so we've all been drawn to this planet. Either we're bounty hunters seeking to capture some of the rebels, or in the case of Dante, we're looking to find the rebels to join up with them. But at the beginning of the game, we don't know each other. We haven't managed to find the rebellion or anything like that. But in truest fashion, the Star Wars campaign starts with, the opening credits scroll down the top, and we zoom down to see a planet. It's Dantooine. We also see the silhouette of a Star Destroyer high over orbit, because this campaign is starting with Dantooine under attack by Imperial forces. TIE fighters are blasting the ground. The Star Destroyer looms overhead. All around us, as we rush out of our bunkhouses and look around, we can see people are in panic. They're fleeing. They're trying to get to their ships and get off the ground, because these TIE fighters are whizzing overhead and blasting the ships apart. And in this chaos, we have to act, and that's how the game's starting. Of course, Dante, being a droid and possessed of a logic and calculus that leads not to panic but call to action, says, "Who has a ship?" And I look around, because I'm playing Dante. I'm waiting for, the GM to be like, this player kind of says this, or, this NPC steps forward. But no, it's actually Null, who's the player sitting to my right at this point. He just looks at me and goes, "Well, I've got a ship." And I'm like, "Awesome, good, take me to it." Null doesn't have a ship. He's lying through his teeth. None of us have a ship. And this little deception is quite interesting, though, because, it gets me and Null right together right at the start. We know each other. All right, he's got a ship. Right, we're going to it. Oh, he doesn't. Well, maybe he's a pilot, though. We might still be able to get off. We'll see. Meanwhile, C1, so that's the Cerulean Jedi. He's kind of very good with computer stuff, so he's trying to hack into the local shipping net to find a ride off-world. Unfortunately for C1, this planet does actually have a rebel base, and as such, trying to hack your way into the shipping net to find out what ships of what cargo and where they're going it's a bit difficult, because the rebels are working here and they're trying to keep everything under wraps. Of course, at this point, the Imperial attack is kind of rendering the security moot, but the triggers kick in and a Bothan approaches. This Bothan introduces himself as Amir Rat. He claims to be in charge of security, but as it'll turn out later, he's actually a rebel spy, and he's working on behalf of the rebel base here. But he's in charge of security, and he demands to know what C1's doing. I mean, in his mind, he probably thinks that C1 is working for the Imperials, perhaps a spy or an informant, and he's trying to pin down fleeing rebels as they escape to the skies. But as C1 doesn't really kind of say the words, "Oh my god, get me off this ship," the conversation kind of starts to cause a bit of commotion, shall we say, as Amir Rat is very clearly trying to be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And C1's trying to be like, mumble. The rest of us players are we're looking for something, some way to get off this thing. So all the ships around us are just taking off. So we see Amir Rat, and he kind of looks like a dude who might know what's going on. So we start moving in to converge on the event. This is also a good way for us players. We all know who's playing who, right? So all us players to get together as a group. But B, not really knowing who Amir Rat is. I mean, none of us do at this point, so from B's perspective, the player playing C1 is just being harassed by this person. The quickest way to deal with a threat to a player, kill it. So B1 runs up, takes a swing at Amir Rat, downs them for a moment, but makes the whole situation go to crank it up to 11, as you say. A new man arrives on the scene, and he looks like he's a no-nonsense man, Titan. Turns out, he's the rebel commander for this base, and he has absolutely no time for us causing this stink in the middle of an Imperial assault. He needs Amir Rat, he's getting off this planet, he's got a ship, he's leaving. And if we want to come along, we're welcome. But if we're going to keep up, we got to go. We got to go now. So, as tires are screaming overhead, blasting all around us, Titan and Amir start to move away. The rest of us, we're like, ship, flight off the planet, awesome. From Dante's perspective, these are the rebels. We're sorted. Let's go. Right. While we're running through the streets, trying to get to Titan's ship, the TIE fighters are still blasting all around us. They're conducting strafing attacks, and we have to roll some dice to, not get blasted by the TIE fighters. Most of us do okay, but C1 gets blasted, and C1's, he's a big, two-brained know-it-all, but he doesn't really look like the most physically tough individual. Dante realizes this, leaps up to protects him with his body. And Dante's a droid; he's got plenty of armor, so all the debris just kind of the TIE fighter blast hits the ground, debris gets kicked up, hits Dante. Dante's fine. I mean, Dante takes a considerable amount of damage, but at this point, I remember it very clearly. As I'm standing there, kind of shielding C1, the player, he smirks and goes, "Right then," I pull out my repair kit and start repairing Dante. And this is literally in the middle of oh my god, we've got to get the fuck out of here. And I'm standing there, bits of rock are pinging off my armor. And C1 sees a damaged droid in front of him and just pulls out his tools, gets to work. So this kicks off a quite amusing event in my mind, because Dante's like, well, fuck, we're still getting out of here. So just scoops up C1 in his arms like you would cradle a baby and just starts legging it. And all the while, C1's just bobbing around in Dante's arms, fixing him. So that's a pretty cool note right there. As I am trying to remember, I think B also gets knocked down by a TIE fighter blast. And I remember Sal, who is heroic and, does the same kind of, stepping in to save the day thing. But I think Sal's a bit more quick and nimble, so he's able to save B without, having to shield it physically with his body. And he gets the pair of them out of the fire of the TIE fighters. We reach the ship that Titan and Amir Rat are running for, but in true kind of cinematic fashion, as we get to the ship, an Imperial assault shuttle arrives, blasts the transport apart, and lands. Its ramp lowers, and a squad of stormtroopers pour out. Well, shit. There's our ride. So I see this and I say, well, there's our ride, and fuck. My screen's going off because I'm talking too much. There we go. There's our ride. And Dante picks up a piece of, metal from the ship that just got blown apart, lifts it in front of him, and just charges forward towards the stormtroopers. Easy peasy. Titan and Amir Rat, they work to kind of draw some of the stormtroopers away, which I think is probably due in part to them two being kind of experienced rebels and they know what's going on. But also, I think because Titan's the rebel commander, the stormtroopers may have recognized this fact and are, right, that's Titan, we need to capture him. So off they go. But that leaves, I think it was about 4 stormtroopers between us and the Imperial ship. An easy battle for us. We may have just started playing the game, but pew 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 pew. A couple of blaster bolts later, and we storm the ship. C1 hacks the security, names the ship Destiny 1, and in his mind, this is because, well, we're playing Star Wars Force and Destiny. We got the Force, and now we got Destiny. So there we go. We got our ship. Null hops into the pilot seat. I think Sal hops into co-pilot. We get ready to leg it out of the base, but we can't just run away, leaving Titan and Amir Rat there, alone without recourse for escape. So, I've got a great idea. Dante comes with a grappling hook, built into his arm. Well, I think to myself, well, if I aim at Titan, all right, and I shoot him, if I miss, the grapple hook's got to end up somewhere near him, so Titan can just kind of grab onto it, we'll pull him to safety, and everything will be fine. And if I hit, well, I'll just grappling hook through the leg, maybe? It's not particularly bad. We can get him on the ship, and this is Star Wars. We'll slap some Bacta on it, and it's absolutely fine. My genius plan has perhaps a drawback in the fact that I hit him right in the chest and drag him on board. He's alive, but as you can imagine, having a grappling hook fired through your chest is not conducive to a healthy atmosphere, so he's critically wounded. B manages to save him with the quick administration of some medical goop, but it's a stopgap measure. He's stable, but if we can't get him to some proper medical attention, he's got to stay in like a medical coma, the a la Luke floating in a Bacta tank kind of thing. Oops, my bad. Or, as I prefer to say it, with the cold efficiency of a droid, he is alive. What is everyone worried about? We have him. We can fix him later. To which I think I get a bit of a tongue lashing here, and I get called a rusty fridge. And that was, that moment made me laugh so much. I can remember it when we were actually sat down playing. I think it was B who said it. Oh, you rusty fridge, what did you do? And I remember chuckling to myself because B immediately after having said that got like a bit like, oh dear, no, I don't mean to be offense. I don't mean to, I'm sorry if I've offended you. I was just like, what the hell, that's like the best thing ever. I loved it. Anyway, the stormtroopers, after Amir Rat, still down on the planet Dantooine, start to set up a heavy blaster. They get the bipod ready and start to aim that at our ship because they've realized now we've got the ship and we've just saved Amir, we've just saved Titan. And they're not going to let us get away with this. We've, of course, got some guns on our ship, but using them, we don't know how well that's going to go. So we're kind of plotting our maneuver to swing by, grab a Mirat, while doing kind of like an updraft to get up into the stars, and the pilot rolls to kind of see how that goes. But in the end, I think that roll translated into not quite going the way we wanted it, but also kind of going the way we wanted it. We got out of there, we got out of Dantooine, the maneuver kind of went off pretty well, but we weren't exactly slowing down to pick up a Mirat on the way. We were blasting off, and I think the backdraft of our engines absolutely obliterated the stormtroopers, leaving them for dust, so Mirat's got that moment to escape and flee, but we have left him alone, stranded on a planet with no ship in the middle of an Imperial invasion. Oh well, he knew what he was getting into when he signed up for the rebellion. Meanwhile, we're getting the fuck out of here because the Imperials won't take long to realise that we've stolen their shuttle and are legging it out of system. As we're fleeing, we hear over the comms, Emirat tell us. I think at this point he confirms for us that, Titan is actually the rebel commander, and we should get him to Dathomir. Because on Dathomir, according to Emirat, there's a rebel base. And if we can get Titan to that rebel base, things will go very well for us. And this is about the kind of only thing we can get through to him before the comm is staticked out by maybe Imperial blockers, or worse, Emir at's immediate peril. Perhaps he's getting shot in the face by stormtroopers. We don't know. Unfortunately for us, this Imperial assault shuttle was only really intended to make landfall and disgorge a bunch of Imperial troops, so it doesn't exactly have its fuel tanks full. We're not going to be able to make it to Dathomir in 1 or 2 jumps. However, we have got enough fuel to make it to Pluma, and that's about the furthest point we can get, as we're hastily trying to figure out what planet isn't under Imperial control that we can possibly fly a stolen Imperial shuttle to. So we set course for Pluma and go to hyperspace. As we jump, we can see the Imperial forces closing on Dantooine, and the Imperial Star Destroyer we mentioned earlier is flanked with serpents. So these serpents are painted onto its bow. And this is an important point because I believe that ship is called the Chimera, the flagship of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't think any of our characters know this at this point, but it's one of the cool things about playing in a Star Wars universe, right? There are all these kind of little details, and you're like, oh man, that's super cool. You know, you see the stormtroopers, and you can imagine their iconic white armor. You see a Bothan, and you hear the phrase, so many Bothan spies died for this information. You know, you get these kind of like lovely little tie-ins to it, and it's good. But anyway, that's everything that happened in session 1, and I hope to keep doing these campaign diaries. So if you enjoyed this, drop a like, check out Matt Coville in the link below, and I'll see you next time for session 2 of Star Wars Force and Destiny. Goodbye.